Okay, so last video I discussed some stuff on China and how it was doing, generally, culturally, and a few general things about it. And this time I'm intending to talk a little bit about the industry and environment, as well as worker relations, through three metrics, or maybe not metrics, but facsimiles of what China is about, hot button topics at least, in their day. The first is farmers and workers and the relationship to China. The second is the environment. And the third is the method of economic development and the model it shows top down and so on and what the effects of that are. So let's see. Getting right into it really quickly. It's a short video. Air quality in Beijing has improved by approximately 50%, according to reports from 2016 to 2017. So that's a good sign of things. It was reasonably easy for the Chinese to get down on that because they control most of the industry. So the top-down orders tend to be obeyed pretty reasonably quickly. Since about 2006 or so, or slightly earlier, there was a system called the River Chief system where one or two people are responsible for getting reports on pollution in the water. Apparently, they issued about 200,000 River Chief setups as of 2017. However, they're not very effective necessarily, and people aren't sure where the boundaries are of responsibility. So that gets in the way of their effectiveness. One of the things about the river pollution is that in 2006, approximately 60% of the rivers were massively polluted to the point where you couldn't use them safely for drinking water or anything like that. So that was a bit of an issue. Still not quite solved, but apparently the air pollution bit is a little easier to deal with, in Beijing at least. In farmers' protests, 2005, 11, 13, there were some large protests, up to 1 million farmers at one point. More recently, there's been suicides and protests to land seizures recurrent in China, so they've been doing that a bit. Foreign, abroad, they have a domestic sort of thing with the economic imperialism where they've been using the land Mugabe seized from white farmers in Zimbabwe to grow tobacco because the land was misused prior. So I guess that's something that's all it's good for now or something. They're still using coal furnaces by mountaintop or hillside shovel-fed manual labor, which is kind of crazy. Really adds to the feudal flavor of the industry. Really early industrial revolution style setup. China's a bit of a crazy town when it comes to that. There's, of course, the Foxconn suicide nets thing in terms of worker relations. So one can imagine that it's not gotten a lot better since, although I'm sure it's made some progress because of the automation, mechanization going on. The ghost towns are still quite an issue. They basically made a bunch of towns thinking that people would move in and they could falsify a strong Western economy style with a top-down government system like the Communist Party system in China, and it just hasn't produced results. So there's not a lot going on from there. Firewall of China, basically they have their own internet system. Everything's pretty controlled. Everything's kind of rigid. Apparently someone rolling their eyes at one point to a question posed by a reporter caused a firestorm or a little bit of one. A little bit of a storm at least. Oh, and the trade wars. Apparently, the U.S. has put a 25% tariff on steel and a 10% tariff on aluminum exports or imports, which is probably targeted at China because China has a very extractive economy, especially with rare metals. One of the bargaining chips that the Chinese and other semi-socialist blocs have had is that they have a larger export capacity for rare metals than a lot of the westernized countries. So they still need to have business done with them regardless. It's not like oil where you can get it anywhere, which is one of Venezuela's problems. It's a little different. So in regards to all of this, basically China has a lot going for it, but if it doesn't figure out how to maximize the efficiency in regards to both production and reduce the pollution that's causing them all a bit of an issue, then they're still not going to go very far. And I have no idea at the moment where they're going to go with that, so I'll leave it here.